On my daughter's birthday, my mother showed up uninvited and demanded to be called Mom instead of me. I laughed and said, "Perfect timing for an announcement." The police arrived soon after. My mother screamed when she saw me in the kitchen, finishing up the last of the cupcakes on the tiered stand just before the knock. It wasn't a friendly knock, one of those knocks that makes your stomach churn, signaling trouble before you even open the door. I already knew who it was, my mother. I sighed, set down the frosting bag, wiped my hands on a dish towel, and headed for the door. The party was in full swing, balloons, decorations, kids laughing in the backyard. It was supposed to be a fun, peaceful day, but I should have expected this. When I opened the door, there she stood, acting like she owned the place, my mother, the woman who gave birth to me, but had never truly been a mother. She wore that smug look, the one that meant she was about to ruin something. "Hello, darling," she said, stepping forward, expecting me to move aside. I didn't. "What are you doing here?" I asked, trying to stay calm, though I already knew the answer. She clutched her purse and smirked. "It's my granddaughter's birthday, you didn't invite me for a reason." Her eyes narrowed. "That's no way to talk to your mother." I sighed, feeling the headache building. "You're not my mother, you gave birth to me, but you lost that right a long time ago." She scoffed and crossed her arms. "Well, your daughter doesn't know that. As far as she's concerned, I'm her grandmother." I exhaled, keeping my temper in check. "You're not in her life, you haven't been. You don't get to just show up and act like you are." Then, she dropped the bomb. "From now on, she should call me Mom." I blinked, wondering if I'd misheard her, but no, she was dead serious. I laughed, disbelieving. "You're out of your mind." She lifted her chin. "I'm just as much her mother as you are." I stared at her, my mind racing through the years of neglect, manipulation, lies, and abandonment. Now she was here, demanding a title she never earned. I shook my head. "You're just in time for the announcement," I said, stepping aside. She gave me a suspicious look but walked in anyway. The party continued around us, parents chatting, kids playing, music filling the air. My daughter was across the yard, oblivious to the storm about to hit. My mother walked in like she belonged, as if she hadn't missed years of birthdays and milestones, as if she hadn't put herself before me every time. She was about to speak, but before she could, sirens wailed through the air, her face contorted in confusion. "What's that?" she asked. I crossed my arms. "That would be the police." Her eyes widened. "What?" The sound of car doors slamming, footsteps approaching, the officers moved through the yard, making their way to the door. Some parents turned to look, whispering to each other. And then, the moment I had been waiting for, my mother's realization. Her entire body froze, her face drained of color, and she screamed. She knew what was happening, and for once, she wasn't going to get away with it. The scream she let out was primal, coming from deep within her. She whipped around to face me, her eyes wild. "What did you do?" she spat, voice shaking. I didn't need to answer. The officers approached, their faces unreadable. One of them, tall and composed, stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said to my mother, "we need you to come with us." She stepped back, trembling. No, this is a mistake. I haven't done anything." But she knew. One of the officers unfolded a piece of paper. "We have a warrant for your arrest." The party came to an abrupt halt. The music, the laughter, the chatter all faded as people looked on, frozen. Some of the kids still played, unaware, but the adults, they were glued to the scene, their eyes bouncing between me and my mother, the woman who thought she was untouchable. Now, her past was finally catching up to her. "I don't understand," she shrieked. "This is a joke. You set this up. You're trying to ruin me." I crossed my arms, steady despite the pounding in my chest. "No, Mom," I said, the word bitter in my mouth. "You did that to yourself." One of the officers pulled out handcuffs, and that's when she snapped. She lunged at me, nails digging into my arm as she tried to grab me, shake me, do anything to make me break. "You ungrateful little." But she never finished. The officers grabbed her, yanking her back as she kicked and thrashed. I stepped back, shaking off the sting in my arm, breathing heavily but calmly. She screamed again, but now it was panic. "What am I being arrested for?" she wailed, desperately looking for any sign this might be a misunderstanding. The officer remained impassive. "Fraud, identity theft, and child endangerment." Silence, complete silence. Then came the whispers, the parents, the neighbors, all murmuring. The weight of it hit everyone. Child endangerment. That was the one that stung the most. The one that made it clear this wasn't just family drama. This was serious. My mother's eyes darted to mine, desperation replacing her anger. "What did you do?" she whispered, voice cracking. I exhaled. "I found out what you did." She shook her head violently, silver hair flying. "No, no, that's not true." "It is," I said, stepping closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "I know about the account you opened in my name, the money, the loans, the hospital records." Her mouth opened, then closed. Checkmate. She knew what I was talking about, and now the police did too. The officers started pulling her toward the door, but she fought them every step of the way, screaming and begging. "No, you don't understand. She's lying. My own daughter is lying about me." I didn't say another word, I just stood there, watching as they dragged her away, and just before they got her out the door, she screamed something that chilled me to the bone. "You'll regret this, I swear it. I'll make you regret this." And just like that, she was gone. The door slammed shut. The flashing red and blue lights outside cast a strange glow over the house. I took a slow breath, turned, and saw every person at the party staring at me. I forced a smile, clapped my hands together. "Who wants cake?" Laughter, nervous, awkward laughter, but it was enough. The party continued, the kids played, the adults whispered, but no one asked questions, no one pushed, and for the first time in a long, long time, I felt a sense of freedom wash over me, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. I kept up appearances during the rest of the party. I smiled, I served the cake, I thanked everyone for coming, but inside, my heart raced. My mother's last words kept echoing in my mind. "You'll regret this. I'll make you regret this." It wasn't just an empty threat. I knew her too well. I barely made it through the night. Once the last guest had left, I locked every door and window in my house, double-checked them all, and sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. The adrenaline was wearing off, and the exhaustion started creeping in, but I knew sleep wouldn't come, not tonight, and I was right. At exactly 2:43 a.m., my phone rang. I jumped, my heart slamming against my chest. My hand shook as I reached for it. The caller ID read unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. At first, there was only silence, just heavy, labored breathing, then a voice. "You think you've won." A cold shiver ran down my spine. It was her, my mother. "You're in jail," I said, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles whitened. She laughed, low and chilling. "Oh, honey," she purred, "you have no idea what's coming." The line went dead. I sat frozen. How was she calling me? I had just watched her being hauled out of my house in handcuffs. I barely slept after that. Every creak in the house, every faint noise, made me jump. When the sun finally rose, I called the police station to confirm. "She's still in custody," the officer assured me. "No phone privileges." My stomach sank. So she couldn't have called me? No, that didn't add up. But somehow, it had happened. That was the first sign something much bigger was at play. And then the letters began arriving, letters that seemed to come from nowhere. The first one showed up the very next day, neatly placed in my mailbox. No return address, just my name in tight, slanted handwriting. I recognized it instantly, my mother's. I tore it open right there, standing on the porch. "You think you're safe? You're not. I told you I would make you regret this. You have no idea what you've done." I read it over and over. My hand shook so much, I nearly dropped it. I ran inside and called the police again. "She's still in jail," the officer repeated. "There's no way she sent that letter." But someone had, and whoever it was knew exactly how to push my buttons. Then, 2 days later, another letter arrived, and this time, it was even worse. This letter contained a forged document, my signature at the bottom, and a note written in red ink. "I wonder what will happen when this gets out." I felt my stomach churn. I knew exactly what this was. A forged document claiming that I had taken out a huge loan in my mother's name, that I was the one committing fraud, not her. She was trying to flip the entire situation, make it look like I was guilty, and she wasn't working alone. She was behind bars, so someone else had to be helping her, someone with access to my personal details. I stood there, staring at the letter, my pulse hammering in my ears. Then a horrifying thought hit me. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my messages, my emails. There it was, a bank notification from a week ago, one I had ignored at the time, thinking it was just another scam email. "Confirmation, your request to change your primary email has been processed." My stomach twisted. I hadn't made that request. Someone had. Someone had gotten into my accounts and was pulling the strings, all while my mother sat in jail, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I thought this was over. I thought she was finally out of my life, but I was wrong. This was just the beginning. I knew I had to act fast. My mother wasn't working alone. Someone was out there helping her, hacking into my accounts and trying to frame me for the crimes she had committed. And I had a suspicion I knew who it was. My mother had always had a favorite, a man she used to call her soulmate. But in reality, he was as rotten as she was. His name was Frank, a manipulative con artist she'd been involved with on and off for years. Every time she got into trouble, he was the one helping her find loopholes, covering her tracks. I didn't have proof yet, but I knew it was him, so I set a trap. First, I went to the police with the letters and told them about the forged document and the strange phone call. They agreed something shady was going on, but without concrete evidence, they couldn't do much. So I gave them proof. I logged into my online banking and set up a security alert that would notify me the moment anyone tried to access my accounts. Then, I created a fake email request for a large money transfer, linking it to my banking profile. I waited. It didn't take long. The next morning, I got an alert. Someone was trying to authorize a $50,000 withdrawal from my account. The location? A seedy motel just 3 miles from the jail where my mother was being held. Gotcha. I called the police immediately. Within 30 minutes, they arrived and kicked down the door. And guess who they found? Frank, sitting there with his laptop open, logged into my accounts. The fool hadn't even tried to cover his tracks. The best part? He had letters from my mother spread out across the bed, letters detailing how to drain my accounts, forge documents, and frame me for everything. The cops hauled him away in handcuffs, and I followed them to the station to press every charge I could. During the interrogation, Frank cracked wide open. He confessed to everything, how my mother had orchestrated the whole thing from jail, how she had someone sneaking her phones to stay in contact with him, how she'd been plotting to destroy me since the moment she was arrested, and the best part? His confession meant her bail was revoked immediately. She wasn't getting out. Not now, not ever. I could have stopped there. I could have walked away, knowing she was finally where she belonged. But after everything she'd put me through, the lies, the manipulation, the fraud, I wanted real revenge. So I went public. I took every letter, every forged document, every shred of evidence, and sent it to everyone she had ever deceived, her old friends, co-workers, even family. I posted everything online, the police reports, the arrest records, the video from the bank proving Frank's involvement. And just like that, the perfect image she'd spent years creating shattered. Her so-called friends? Gone. Her reputation? Ruined. Everyone she'd ever manipulated? They turned on her. Her response? One final letter came through her lawyer. It was a pathetic, incoherent mess, pleading for forgiveness and cursing me at the same time. I didn't bother to respond. For the first time in my life, she had no power over me. As for her sentence, she was sentenced to 15 years for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Frank got 10 years for his part. And me? I moved on. My credit was restored, my accounts secured. I went to therapy, built real relationships, and focused on my daughter. She never saw me again. My daughter's birthdays are peaceful now, no uninvited guests, no threats, no chaos, just happiness, and honestly, that's the sweetest revenge I could have ever asked for. Thanks for watching. See you next time, stay stunned.